Hi, everybody, and welcome this evening here. My name is Rebecca Bogers, and I am the Dean and Director of NEC Prep. Welcome to Around the World with NEC Prep Alumni. We are going to have a chance to meet a bunch of NEC Prep alumni over the coming months, and I'm thrilled to be joined for our first edition here this evening with the former NEC Prep Morse Quartet. I'm going to go ahead and have each of them introduce themselves. So, Riya?
Hi, my name is Riya. I don't know how brief this intro should be, so I will make it brief, but I'm a junior at Duke University and I play the violin and played the violin at Prep, so that's a brief overview of me.
Great, thank you. And we have our other violinist, Austin Kwoun.
Hi everyone, I'm Austin. I played the violin in the Morse Quartet and play currently at Harvard University. That's me, yeah, I guess.
Great, wonderful. Welcome back, Austin. And on viola, Wilson Shu.
Hi everyone, my name is Wilson. I'm a junior at Emory University in Atlanta. I play the viola and I went to NEC from first grade to senior year of high school.
Got some lifers here. All right, and on cello, we have Mikey.
Hi everyone, my name is Michael, but I go by Mikey. I'm a junior at Harvard University and I played cello at NEC Prep.
Awesome. Well, thanks guys for taking a moment in your busy junior years to join us. We caught you just after hopefully a relaxing break, though I know the work never stops. And I'm thrilled to catch up with each of you, hear a little bit about what you guys have been up to, and also thinking back on your time at NEC Prep. Does it feel like a long time ago or just yesterday? Riya, you look ready to.
I feel like a mix of both. Like I have very strong memories from, the many Saturdays spent at NEC Prep, but also it does feel like it was 3 years ago, which feels like a long time, but still I remember it very well, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, the last 9 months feel like a lifetime.
Mm-hmm. You spend so long at a place, I think, and it stays such a consistent part of your life for so long that even if you are relatively, I guess, like temporally distant from having left, it still feels like yesterday. I remember in particular our like senior spring, basically some of the stuff that we were able to do as a quartet very vividly, and it feels like I left only very recently, I think.
Absolutely. Tell me a little bit about the Morse Quartet. Let's go down memory lane for a second. So you guys were formed for 3 years together, right? Mikey, tell us how the quartet formed.
Well, so I don't think any of us knew each other when we first formed the group. I think, Rebecca, you kind of put us all together and we turned out to be such a great group and we became really great friends. And I think we all just kind of fell in love with playing as a string quartet. And then, well, Austin joined kind of later on. He wasn't part of our original group. He joined kind of towards our junior year of high school. And so at that time, we kind of knew Austin pretty well and we were very happy to have him join our group. And again, had so many performance opportunities going to Norway and yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Wilson, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I knew Riya before, I think, but then I didn't know Mikey or anyone else. So I think we really bonded really fast. I still remember our first rehearsal in the basement of NEC, if you guys remember that. And I think we like clicked right away. Like we all got to know each other really well. And then once we had a few rehearsals, we really knew this is going to be like a long-term thing throughout high school. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And Mikey, you touched on it a little bit there for a moment, but there wasn't another member of the Morse Quartet initially. Riya, do you want to share anything?
I guess I will definitely echo what everyone's been saying. It was like a family for us, and I think being so passionate about music and like spending so much time at NEC, it was really nice to form this group from the beginning. And obviously, Austin wasn't there for the very beginning, but we welcomed him with open arms because he I think we all have a very similar energy, and especially when we're together, it doesn't feel like work or anything. It always felt like we were just having a great time doing something that we really loved. And I think that's pretty rare to find. And we were very lucky to have been given that opportunity. And it was just a friendly thing to go back to every Saturday. And I think us making music together was like one of my highlights of life, I guess you could say. So definitely echoing what everybody else has already said.
That's awesome. And I know you guys were also all in youth orchestra together, so that was another touch point. Austin, what about your angle on being in orchestra together and thinking back on that?
Yeah, so like you said,
That's where they recruited you from, drew you in from the orchestra.
Yeah, like you said, we had a a touch and go past of being in the same orchestra, but it wasn't really until we were able to play together in the Morse Quartet that I feel like we really were able to gel as a group. And it just how it is how it is. When you play with people, you tend to form kind of a bond that goes beyond what you're capable of doing in any other situation, really. And I think having the opportunity to enter into a community that was already so strong, and to feel increasingly welcomed by that this like nuclear group of really great people, I think was really fantastic. It definitely made approximately my entire experience at NEC Prep better. Having this group that I would rehearse with and then go straight to orchestra rehearsal, and be stuck with him for 4 hours on any given Saturday. Just it really stuck with. I use it very loosely, I guess. Stuck with to very, very wonderful ends. I really started to feel the community a lot more strongly. Once I got to know them a lot better, once I got to play with them a lot more. And it really took a fantastic experience that I was already having and turned it into one that I'll really never forget.
That's awesome. And you guys as a group also had a chance to kind of travel the world and play. You played at Grieg's summer home, if I remember correctly. What was the highlight for, I'm wondering what the highlight was for each of you in the Morse Quartet, either traveling or rehearsal. Is there a Morse memory that stands out to you? I see Riya smiling, so she must have something in her mind.
It's so hard to pick out like a specific memory, just because I feel like we're so incredibly lucky to have opportunities, like you said, performing in Norway and Philadelphia. I mean, it was just, we had like an unbelievable amount of opportunities to perform, and also at NEC. And I think it was also, we have fun, special memories, practicing at Mikey's house or something like that. So I think it's so hard to pick something specific because they were all so great and so impactful on my experience at Prep, especially because us playing, being involved in music so intensely for such a long time, it's nice to be a part of a group of people that understand that and can relate to that, like everybody at Prep can. And so just elevating that experience and being able to go to Norway and so many different places, I feel like overall we're just crazy memories that I can't believe that I even did that now thinking back.
Have you done anything as cool since? That's a trick question. We've done lots of cool things, which I'm excited to hear about in just a moment there. Wilson, what about you? Any memory or anything jump out in your mind?
Yeah, I mean, just like Riya said, I mean, we had so many different memories together. I mean, just traveling the world. I mean, I think going to Norway and performing there was probably the highlight of our quartet and like our performances, just being able to share our music like across the ocean with different audiences was really an honor. But yeah, just like Riya said, all the small memories, all the small moments, like at Mikey's house, just like spending time with each other, you know, those are the times that I'll remember the most, I think.
Okay, next broadcast of the quartet will be live from Mikey's house post-COVID. Austin or Mikey, tell me a little bit too. Anything on your mind, Mikey?
So favorite memory, I would say, if I had to choose one, it would be probably playing with the Borromeo Quartet. I think that was really exciting. We got to play the last movement, the Presto of Mendelssohn's Octet, with the Borromeo Quartet. And that was like a really incredible experience. I think we had so many rehearsals before to prepare just to play with them. And I think we had one rehearsal and a concert at the NEC Gala, which was really exciting. We got to just learn how to play from some really fantastic musicians. And I thought that was a very fun experience for me. But as Riya and Wilson said, I think we're all very grateful that we had so many opportunities, both performance opportunities and just to get to know each other, that there are kind of so many memories that I have that, yeah, makes me miss the Morse Quartet a lot.
Future rehearsal. Okay, good. And Austin?
Yeah, so like just to echo everyone else, there have been so many really cool things. I had so much fun on our trip to Philadelphia. I thought that was it's one of my formative memories from high school for sure. I think
Was it the spaghetti?
The spaghetti was certainly part of it. But I think that in addition to that, you know, I mean, like Wilson said, kind of taking our music somewhere else, being able to share it outside of, you know, the walls of Jordan Hall, but at the same time, and also playing Bartok, which was crazy. And on reflection, I have no idea how we managed to get it together. But with that said, I think one really, I'm not sure if you guys remember this, like one really niche memory kind of stands out to me. We played a very informal, at a very informal setting outside of NEC. I believe it was in Ria's hometown of Southborough. And we played outside of it. Was it a nursing home? I'm not 100% sure. Or it was at an Easter event.
Yeah, it was a community event that my neighbor, whose kids went to some like Mommy and Me or some sort of like children's program, asked us if we would be willing to play.
And yeah, so we played on a lawn outside of some communal building, and it was so windy. It was so windy, and in the middle of the performance, I can't remember I think it was Ria's. Your music, like your stand collapsed on us or something. I don't know. It was such a niche, small moment that didn't really mark any particularly like, you know, earth-shattering performance that we did. But I had so much fun doing it, and it was so all over the place and so like unlike, I guess, a lot of our typical performance settings. But it really sticks out to me when I think back, and I really enjoyed myself then.
That's awesome, Austin. I mean, it sounds like, you know, real kind of true lifelong friendships here. And even though you guys are scattered around the world, it's so great to have you back here in the virtual world of Zoom. And Mike, you touched on a little bit some of the folks who influenced your time there from the faculty, the Borromeos, no question, David LaBelle from YPO, and of course, your coach. Riya, tell us about your coach.
The lovely, lovely Judith. I've been thinking about her obviously since we have been on this call. Just like what an amazing, loving presence that she always is and was for us. I think I like love her like family. Like I just think she brought so much enjoyment and passion and, you know, interesting comments all the time throughout all of our rehearsals, and was really the perfect person to teach us. I feel like I learned so much about her, and she learned a lot about us as a group and individuals, and always had, you know, obviously amazing things to say for our musical education, but also I felt like she knew us so much as people that she could, you know, give the best advice. she emailed me a few months ago just updating me about her life, and it just brought me back to how wonderful she was to see every Saturday and learn from. And I feel so grateful that we got the chance to work with her for 2 years. 2 years, I think.
Yeah.
3 years.
That's
Sorry.
awesome. Are there any good Judith moments? What's a classic Judith moment?
Less so a moment and more so the constant the constantly hanging over invitation for us to go visit her in her we never got around to it. It's something that I still want to do. It's something that I definitely still want to do. If anyone wants to elaborate on this a little bit more, feel free, but like there was this constantly lingering invitation for us to drive up to her farm and visit her at home, which is something that sticks with me. I mean, it kind of, I guess, goes to show that the level of personal connection that we were able to make with her, that she was able to make with us. I think music is always a very personal endeavor, and for her to bring out our musicianship, I think it relied very heavily on the bond that we were able to form with her, which sticks with me as one of the strongest relationships I was able to have in my time at Prep, which for me was about 8 years. It stuck with me a whole lot, and I miss her very much and would love to make that trip at some point.
All right, Judith, if you're listening, get ready to expect 4 Morris quartets on your doorstep post-pandemic. Mikey or Wilson, anything you want to add?
I mean, I think everyone said like most of it. I mean, Judith was just like an amazing coach to us. Like she was basically like the mom for our group. And like she would always just be so loving. Like she would always reach out, see how we're doing. And then just during the rehearsals, she was always so encouraging. We would always run through our piece at the beginning, and then she would give us good things that we did, and then always critiques that we could improve on, which really helped improve our group over the years. I think we wouldn't be who we were as a group at the end without her coaching and without her just like her care for our group and how much she wanted us to succeed as a group. So really thankful for her.
Great. Good. Great. So let's hear about where you guys are now and, the impact that NEC Prep has led you to on your paths. One of the things that's so exciting is that you guys really are all over the place. So let's hear about, you're all juniors right now in college. And Riya, you're at Duke. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing there.
So I'm a junior at Duke. Sorry to repeat you, but I'm studying biology and global health. And going into Duke, I knew I was interested in bio. I wanted to pursue that, and then was sort of pulled into studying global health just because there's a really amazing program at Duke, and I took one intro class and I was sold, and I said, let's do this. I jumped in, and so I'm also studying global health, which I love. And I also loved my first years at Duke because I was very warmly welcomed into the Duke Orchestra. The first performance that we do is on the lawn of one of our campuses outside. It's just like a welcome to the semester, a fun start where we play some fun music. So that was a really great first activity for me to get involved in, because music is something that I was really comfortable with already, and I knew it'd be a nice way to make friends and sort of get involved in Duke before you're not being so overwhelmed by the numerous clubs and other opportunities that college offers, but kind of starting with something that I am comfortable with. And so after the orchestra, or sort of in orchestra, I was approached by my professor who I was studying privately with, who said, oh, I have 3 people. It was sort of like how the Morris Quartet got started. He said, I have 3 people who are interested in chamber music. I know you didn't audition in the beginning, but do you guys want to start? And so we sort of were playing together over the past 2 years, unfortunately not now. But I think that also has been a huge part of my Duke experience, just because I love chamber music. If I had to pick one form of music, it would definitely be chamber music, because I just think there's something so special about a small group that you can, as we've, been saying, you can really get to know each other and also really get into the music. So I've been loving that. And then sort of aside from music, I wanted to get involved in the area that I'm interested in. So I joined this student mentorship club, basically to encourage young girls in the Durham area where we go to school to engage in STEM fields and sort of get them excited about science like we have been. So that's been a really fun part of my Duke experience. And I think overwhelmingly a theme that I've taken from NEC Prep has been, teamwork and just a joy of working with other people in many different contexts. And I think that is one of the biggest things that I've taken to college, both musically and not musically. I think is just the enjoying meeting people and working with people and collaborating with people on a lot of different levels is obviously a big part of college and how you make connections and networks and stuff like that. So I think that has been a big takeaway from all of my years at Prep.
That's great. I don't have to ask any more questions now because Ria's just answered them all. But what I love about what you just shared is kind of this idea of music facilitating your transition into the college space and making you feel really comfortable as you kind of headed into that next part of the journey. Tell us a little bit more about the mentoring program that you're doing and what drew you to that. What does that look like?
Well, unfortunately now it's all virtual, but I was in, there's, like I said, there were so many different clubs and opportunities, but I wanted to use my interest in a unique way. And one of my friends actually joined this group before I did, and the applications came out and she said, "Hey, you should really try this. It's really cool, and it's on the weekends. We get to go to our local elementary school and sort of hang out with the girls who are interested in STEM. We help them with what they're working on in school, but also, try to interest them in other projects that they can do, things you can do with your friends, sort of make STEM be fun and cool, which it is." And I was really drawn to that because it's just something different, and it sort of allowed me to engage with like a completely different group of people and get out of my college bubble, which is so easy to get wrapped up in, and just do something that I wouldn't have the opportunity to do, and sort of maybe be a part of someone's interest in something they didn't think about before. And I've also met some really lovely people who are also part of the club, who go to Duke, who have also inspired me in a lot of other ways, in terms of our shared interest in biology and learning about what they're up to, what they're working on, what they're researching, which has been really cool.
That's awesome. All right. So when we check in with you in another 10 years or so, you'll have taken over and solved all of the global health crises. We really need that. Well, great. Well, speaking of transitions to college and using music to do that, Mikey and Austin were sharing with me earlier. They also joined the Harvard Orchestra, which is where they are, and that was part of your guys' transition. Mikey, tell us a little bit about the move from NEC Prep to Harvard.
Yeah, so music definitely helped with the transition into a college life. So my first semester at college, I joined a piano trio with Sasha Yakub, who I believe went to NEC Prep, and a pianist, Patrick Pan, who's a Harvard NEC student, or was a Harvard NEC student. So yeah, I immediately started off with chamber music because I missed Morse Quartet so much, and I think it was actually the first time I had ever played in a piano trio, but it was still a great experience. We played some very interesting repertoire. And then I also joined the Harvard Radcliffe Orchestra, which is, I think, a very good orchestra. We're playing a lot of exciting repertoire like we did in YPO. And I think it's really nice to be part of that orchestra community. I think it definitely helped introduce me to other students. I think a lot of my friends now are actually still part of the orchestra, and so it definitely helped me to get to know other people. And yeah, and our orchestra was, we were hoping to go on a tour this past summer to China, which obviously didn't turn out. But so our orchestra hasn't been able to go on a tour, but maybe end of our senior year, Austin and I might be going a tour. Not sure how that's going to work. But yeah, music has definitely helped me adjust to college life. Past few months with COVID has really interrupted my music life, I'd say, but I'm hoping by my senior year, I'll be able to get back to that.
That's awesome. But music is not your focus either. You are a physics major. Tell us a little bit about that interest.
Yeah, so I'm technically a chemistry and physics major, but definitely more physics. So at the end of my freshman year, I joined a research group in condensed matter physics. At the time, I don't think I had a very good physics background. I was kind of open to doing research in kind of any chemistry or physics group because I didn't have a whole lot going for me at the time. But I found a professor who was willing to take me in, and she offered me a whole bunch of opportunities of different projects. And I've been a part of that research group since. I'm still working in that group now, obviously remote. And so I'd say that research experience has definitely helped me realize that I actually really like physics, and I'm pretty convinced now that I want to go to grad school in physics just because I've enjoyed the research so much. And I think I was very lucky to join such a great research group, had a lot of great mentorship there, and a lot of opportunities. And so, yeah, research definitely convinced me that physics was the right way to go. But before then, I was kind of not really sure where I was going, but yeah.
Sounds like research is the chamber music of science. That's my analogy for the evening on that. But tell us a little bit, what kind of research do you do in your physics group?
So I'm working on two projects right now. One is to design a liquid helium cryostat. And so the idea is that we have thin films of materials that have interesting properties at low temperatures. And when I say low temperatures, I mean really low temperatures. Liquid helium is like 4 Kelvin. And so the goal of that project is to have a cryostat that we can use to take measurements of these samples at low temperatures. And then another project that I'm working on is on a specific material. It's called vanadium dioxide. It has various interesting properties, and our group has been trying to create that material from scratch, and also just to probe those material properties.
That's awesome. Did anything at NEC Prep prepare you for that?
Yes, actually, it's you know, a lot of what we do involves handling samples that are very small, and so we have to use tweezers. And I think the fact that I played cello, it gave me good, you know, hand-eye coordination, because dealing with those samples is very tricky. And it's, you know, okay, I've dropped a couple samples, but that's actually not so bad. But I mean, it's hard to deal with those samples, especially since they represent kind of a day or maybe 2 days of work. But yeah, just hand-eye coordination, that's actually a very useful skill.
All right, hand-eye coordination. I will have to use that as a new selling point for NEC Prep. Build your hand-eye coordination. If you're ready to go into physics, music is the building block. And Austin is at Harvard as well. And tell us, Austin, a little bit about your transition into college.
Yeah, I think just to, I don't really have much to follow up the cryostat discussion, but I think as far as my experience and how music has informed it a little bit, like Mikey, I joined HRO from the beginning. I didn't start out with chamber music just because I wanted to kind of ease myself into both the music scene in college in general, but I ended up in a chamber group in my freshman spring, and I enjoyed it a lot, as of course I knew I would. With actually another Prep alumnus, Andrew Lee, who played piano at Prep for a while, who is a Harvard NEC student presently. He played the piano in that trio. So as far as how music kind of informed my transition, aside from, like Mikey said, getting to know some people from my orchestral experience, getting to, continue to play some really fantastic music, the highlight of my musical experience so far, which Mikey, I'm sure you concur, is having played Mahler's Ninth Symphony in the beginning of our sophomore year, which was an absolute blast. But, strictly musical stuff aside, I think prep in particular, but music in general, has kind of prepared me from a mental organization and time management and diligence standpoint, in that spending Saturdays at NEC Prep, spending a lot of time playing the violin in high school, required moving some things around, required like prioritizing, so on and so forth. And I think that's a skill that translates very nicely to college. But that aside, I think the other facet, I would say, of how my musical experience in particular with NEC Prep has informed my college life, it's kind of opens me up to this idea of, I guess, sharing things with people that maybe don't have natural exposure to them. I want to pinpoint one particular prep memory that I have that is not a Morse memory, so maybe this is cheating, but it's a YPO memory that I think all of us share. In our freshman year of high school, we toured Iceland, and the second stop in Iceland was a very small coastal town called Ísafjörður. And while we were there, we played in a gymnasium. Our second concert was in a gymnasium. The entirety, like half of the town showed up, half of the very small town, clapped in between movements, so on and so forth, the whole thing, the whole 9 yards. And it was just, it spoke to me on a lot of levels that have stuck with me ever since. Basically, how fulfilling it felt to see how enthusiastic people were. And this kind of translates, I'm getting back to looping this around to my actual college experience. I'll get to that in a second. But this idea of, accessibility, exposure for people who are maybe not are not as exposed to certain things as they might like to be, as they, might find a lot of pleasure in being. So with all of that said, some of the coolest stuff that I've done in college, I work at a entirely student-run business called Harvard Student Agencies. Basically, it's a big umbrella corporation that has a bunch of smaller companies within it. A lot of the time that I've spent there has been spent working in education, and has been spent working in basically these affordable, accessible high school enrichment programs for students who aren't really sure exactly what they want to pursue. So the courses are kind of oriented towards like basically like pre-law studies, pre-medical studies, so on and so forth, just trying to get people set on specific careers. So a big selling point of these programs, something that I've really take a lot of pride in, something that we've been really able to flesh out, given the pandemic, given the online setting, is making them extremely affordable, making them extremely accessible for people. And that's something that we've taken a lot of pride in. That's something that I've personally taken a lot of pride in, because since that experience that we had in Iceland, I've taken a lot of pleasure, I think, in, trying to tear down barriers to entry for a lot of different things, whether that's in education, whether that's in music, which, translates as far as, working locally with music nonprofits that in some part, my younger sister, who is now a freshman at Harvard and is a prep alumnus as well, has helped to organize during the pandemic, so on and so forth. It's all been part of this broader idea, I think, of accessibility to music and to other things that has really defined, I think, my college experience, that is, in part defining what I want to do with my life, so on and so forth. So in that way, I think NEC
That's awesome, Austin.
had a lot of teaching power for me.
That's great. Yeah, and I'm thinking, as you were talking, I was thinking back to Ísafjörður, which, if I recall correctly, around the time had a population of about 3,000. So I don't think you're wrong when you say half of the town was there. And I recall the mayor welcoming the orchestra afterwards and sharing at that moment a very powerful idea that Ísafjörður, which is on the edge of the world for those unfamiliar with it, and spends half of its year in darkness, that there's this kind of magical moment the mayor compared the orchestra to as being like the rising of the sun after the months of darkness. And that really is special about the power of music. So thanks for that reminder down memory lane. And you were sharing with me earlier what is a very long mouthful of a concentration in organization management and information systems. No.
That's Wilson.
I mixed it up. That's Wilson. Okay.
Good
Perfect.
segue, though.
Wilson, you were sharing with me organization. It sounds like Austin can use your help in the future and all of his businesses as well. But before we go on to Wilson, then just one quick more moment. We had heard, we have a follow-up question here from our fabulous sponsors who during your senior year, I believe you told them you plan to manage the Red Sox. How's that? How are we on track for the management of the Red Sox?
I am working on it. So here's my thing. So currently I am, just to check the boxes here, currently I'm a social studies major with a focus in public health and media and public health in contemporary America, which is also a mouthful, but I'm not really going to get into that. I am also pursuing a secondary in statistics, which is kind of informing this love for data science, this love for, in tandem with, I guess, business management, this desire to maybe work in baseball someday. As far as directly how I'm going about working towards that, I'm also involved, although I spend less hours with it than I do, working in a formal capacity at the student agencies. I'm also involved in data analysis for baseball teams in the for Major League Baseball teams at present. Currently, I'm working on a project with the Houston Astros, basically centered around pitcher development. Previously, I've done some park factor stuff with the San Diego Padres. Had a really great experience all the while, and I'm super excited to continue working in baseball analytics going forward in whatever capacity. I'm not sure quite yet, but it's the dream is still taking shape.
That's awesome. See, you were withholding some very cool information there about another passion. All right, so Wilson, a dual concentration in organization management and information systems. What does that mean?
Yeah, so I have a dual concentration, as you said. So I'm basically pursuing management consulting after college, and that's sort of the two paths that will get me there. So management, as you know, just like managing and learning the structures of organizations, and then information systems is more about data analytics and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, outside of class, I do a lot of business clubs, like consulting clubs and then entrepreneurship clubs all around. But I think the most important club to me, or organization, was the one I founded a few years ago, and it has to do with music. And NEC really helped me get to the point where I wanted to found this organization. So I started playing the violin when I was just 3.5 years old, so very young. And then after going through all these experiences, performing around the world, and NEC really got me there. And I realized that I wouldn't never have gotten to where I am today as a musician without the opportunities and resources I was given at a young age to pursue classical music, and just to go to NEC every weekend just to get such good training and opportunities to perform with different talented musicians like the Morse Quartet and other people through orchestra and everything like that. And then 3 years ago, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, tell us, your organization is called Continuo. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, for sure. So 3 years ago, I noticed like two main problems in the communities around me, which was first, there was a lack of opportunity for students living in economically disenfranchised communities to learn musical instruments. And then second, there's a lack of opportunity for high school and college musicians to sort of share their music with their communities. So in 2017, so a couple years back, I was still in high school. It was under a different name at the time, but now it's called Continuo, as you said. So in 2017, I founded the organization, which essentially empowers young musicians to establish relationships with communities through performance and mentorship. So we have two different programs. One is we work with local elementary schools, and we go once a week just to mentor the kids one-on-one, as well as through group lessons, just to give them those opportunities, that we were all given as young musicians to learn from talented musicians. And then our second program is we perform at non-traditional performance venues like nursing homes and homeless shelters, people who don't have access to concert hall, traditional concert halls. So those are really the two main programs that we have right now. So I started that program in Boston. And then when I went off to college in 2018 to Atlanta, I left the program here in Boston off with a few of our musicians, a few of our founding musicians. And then I recently merged our two programs. So we have a site in Boston as well as a site in Atlanta. And we've grown quite a bit. We have now 80 members across both sites, and we have around like 7 different partnerships with local elementary schools and nursing homes and things like that. So it's really exciting. And we actually just received a $5,000 grant from the top, which I'm sure you guys all know. So that's really exciting. And we hope to use that money just to increase our impact and continue reaching more students across the country and just exposing them to music, because it really transformed our lives. And I think, I want to do the same for other students as well. So
that's wonderful. And I was going to ask you why the work was so important to you. We're also incredibly proud of all of your accomplishments. And I think you've just answered it perfectly, Wilson, the sort of power of transformation. It really is such a wonderful piece, and also a wonderful shout out to another one of our partners from the top. They're a wonderful organization as well. Proud alum myself as well. And you mentioned you moved to Atlanta. You were down at Emory, but right now you are not in Atlanta. Where in the world is our NEC Prep alum Wilson?
I'm currently across the world. I am in Taiwan. So I decided to spend the semester here after COVID hit. There's no cases here, which is pretty amazing. Just the way the government shut down everything really worked. So life's normal here. So it's really nice. And I've been able to spend time with my grandparents, which has been really nice. I came here with my brother. So yeah, doing school online this semester has been interesting, but definitely an experience to remember. So.
That's awesome. Hearing all of your stories is such an inspiration, and it's so fun to be able to reconnect and kind of see where you guys have landed. And I'm sure there are so many more wonderful things to come as well. I want to remind, we have a couple guests who are backstage with us here, if you will, in the Zoom. And I just want to point your attention to our chat feature. If any of you guys have questions for the quartet, you can put them there, and we'll have some time to incorporate them as well. But now might be a moment to add any questions that you have, and we can direct those there. In the meantime, I'm going to go on to advice you would give a current NEC Prep student. So advice you would give a current NEC Prep student, it can be either about what they should make sure to do while they're at NEC Prep, or things you think, which we've already touched on a little bit, that they might use NEC Prep as they impact on future. And Austin, I saw you nod there for a moment. Do you have some advice ready? It can be chamber music, orchestra, anything related.
Yeah, I mean, not to be too plain about it, I think, but do chamber. Like, really do chamber. It is. I've had a ton of really incredible experiences at Prep between between the very beginning and starting an orchestra, but then doing chamber music in general has been by far, I think, the most enjoyable one, the one that has stuck with me the longest, the one during which I've made some of the most incredible memories. And it might seem like very basic advice, and I'm sure a lot of people who are tuning in are already participant, but just can't underscore enough like how strong and how meaningful the connections that you'll be able to make, how strong those will be. Because I think, like Riya said a while back, there's no environment quite like chamber for, bonding through music with some people very strongly, very closely, in ways that maybe an orchestra might be too big to access, and then playing solo obviously doesn't give you the opportunity to do. It's an enriching musical experience, but it's as much or more an enriching personal experience as well.
All right, really great advice. We like that. And our chamber music is online this semester, so it's a little bit different, of course, but we are really looking forward to seeing some of the really cool layering projects that our chamber music groups have been doing. They've been using an app called Band Lab to layer and send to each other. I can only imagine the emojis that have gone alongside with that. But Mikey, advice you would give an NEC Prep student?
I think I have to echo what Austin said about how important chamber music is. I think the earlier that you start doing chamber music, the better your music experience at NEC Prep will be. And I think, so the Morse Quartet was the first chamber music group I joined at NEC. Before that, I was in a string quartet with some of my friends from high school. So I didn't really start chamber music until like 7th or 8th grade maybe. And I think I didn't start to really enjoy playing cello until I started playing chamber music. I think before then, playing my instrument felt just like something I was expected to do. It was something I kind of enjoyed, but didn't really see the big picture. But then after I started playing chamber music, it's just so much more fun to play with others, and it's really a great experience to play music with others. I think it helps you grow as a musician. I think starting chamber music is really what got things going for me in terms of making into becoming a better player. So I would say chamber music is super important. Obviously, I'm biased. I think string quartet is the best. The repertoire is so good. Yeah, so it has to be chamber music for me. That's the best advice I could give.
If I can tack on just one thing, this is not a level of agency that I think a lot of people have. It's certainly not one that we had, but we got lucky with it. If you have the ability to, to pick and choose people to play with, you would your experience in chamber music would very hugely benefit from having someone like Mikey in your group. I think Wilson and Riya can speak to this with incredibly so, because I know it's a consistent. And I almost forgot really until this call, just like thinking back on some of the rehearsals that we had, someone who, for one thing, cares deeply enough about you as a person that they're playing with, but also about the music itself, and someone especially analytical, somebody who has will kind of take time outside of chamber to really go into depth with not only listening to recordings and stuff, but also deciding, what he thinks about music, like what they think about the piece in particular, and how to improve, just broadly speaking. I think my chamber experience was so incredibly improved by having someone like Mikey in a group. And I say this, sorry if this is like off topic or out of pocket or something, but it just felt like it was something that I had to say, had to get out there for anyone who wasn't maybe familiar with the dynamic of our group.
All right, must have Mikey in a group.
Or someone like.
All right,
I could say that about all four of you. I'm very grateful that I got to play with all four of you. I definitely learned so much from playing with all of you. So thanks, Austin.
That's great. Riya, chamber music with a group like Mikey?
Honestly, Austin's right on. Like we could not have like rehearsed or gotten really anything done without Mikey. I feel like he has the perfect balance of knowledge and passion, because he was like our second coach, honestly. I mean, you can't, not to say that everyone else wasn't wonderful, but I think the energy of me, Wilson, and Austin was very nicely balanced by Mikey. I absolutely agree to that.
All right. Yeah, that's great. Actually, it's funny because you have reminded me, and Mikey, you're being a really good sport, but you have reminded me of a conversation that I had just around the senior year as well with Bob and Jane Morris, some good friends of the quartet that the quartet is named after. And I actually recall them sharing at how much they'd enjoyed visiting rehearsals, and how Mikey had just become such a chatterbox. And that he could really become quite a talker over the years. So perhaps a little quiet and shy at the beginning, and then just opened straight up. Do you remember that, Mikey? Was it that kind of a feeling for you?
Yeah, definitely. I'd say I think coming into chamber music, I always had lots of ideas that I wanted our group to experiment, and I'm very happy that everyone here was very willing to try out these things. So yeah, I guess chamber music did make me a little bit more talkative. If people know me from within our group and outside the group, I'm definitely more talkative during rehearsals. Yeah.
That's wonderful. And Wilson, advice you would give an NEC Prep student, or why Mikey is so important to have in a chamber music group?
I think they already covered why Mikey's really important, but yeah, he was essential to our group. Other than that, I think my advice would just be to just cherish your time at NEC Prep. I mean, it really does fly by. We were all there for many years, almost a decade, I think. So, but it really does fly by. So I would just, my advice would be just to cherish every moment, every Saturday that you go, even if you're tired and you don't want to practice, just cherish your time with the people that are there. You guys all love music, and just enjoy the moments you have, especially in chamber music and orchestra. Group music making is really what makes it really worth it. And yeah, so just cherish your time.
Oh, that's so great. Thank you, Wilson, and all of you for sharing that critical advice for our current students. And if you're an alum out there watching, we'd also love to hear your stories and advice for future NEC Prep students. So please do reach out to us, and we hope that you can be on a future episode potentially, or sharing your stories with us. I do want to end by taking a moment to thank the people who the quartet is named after, Bob and Jane Morris, and the Bob and Jane Morris Chamber Music Fund that really made all of this possible as well. And tell us a little bit about how you guys got your name, Riya. And I remember there was a session in Brown Hall where the naming decision was made.
Yes, I remember this. There's actually a picture of this brainstorming session in action. It exists somewhere. Maybe I will be able to find it. I'll have to do some digging. But I remember we were just so excited to be a group that was going to stay together consistently. That was a super exciting thing. We knew it was like a really special opportunity. And once we started playing together, we were like, okay, we need to come up with a name. All the great groups have them. If we're going to stay together, let's do this. And so I don't remember any of the specifics that we discussed. There were some wacky ideas thrown out there, but then we were like, okay, let's go back to why, this quartet was started. We were so unbelievably lucky to be a part of this and be supported by the Morses. And that's something that we definitely did not want to forget. And we wanted people to know how important that was and how grateful we were for the opportunity, because clearly through all of the stories that we've been sharing, it was, incredibly impactful, extremely important to all of us. And so it felt right to call ourselves the Morse Quartet, just because that's how we were started, and the people that we have to thank for this opportunity. And so we wanted to have that be, our group name. And I think it fit, it stuck, and it still feels very right rolling off the tongue now. So I think we did a good thing deciding that.
I think so. Mikey, did you want to add something there?
Well, just to say more about the Morses, I think we were all very grateful that they were so invested in our group. They came to so many of our concerts, and as you said, Rebecca, I think they came to a couple of our rehearsals, and we got to know them better and they got to know us. And I think it was really nice to have that kind of relationship. And as Riya said, I think naming ourselves the Morse Quartet was definitely the right way to go.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's been such a wonderful evolution. Actually, the Morse Quartet then inspired a completely brand new program at NEC called the CHIPS program, which stands for the Chamber Music Intensive Performance Seminar. After the success of the Morse Quartet, we already knew, but it was possible to begin this new group that focuses on really intensive chamber music performances, and now has 3 groups this year. We actually welcomed our first piano trio, so it's 2 quartets and a piano trio this week. It's founded on some of the principles that we focused in with the Morse Quartet, which was both the rehearsals and the coachings, and having a chance to really focus on it. I think of it as varsity chamber music. How's that, Austin? Does that work in sports?
Love it.
Yeah, so we are very proud of the NEC Prep Chamber Music Program, and it's such a wonderful joy, again, to hear all the incredible things that you guys are up to. We can't wait to see where your paths take you next, and look forward to welcoming you back home into the NEC buildings as soon as it is safe to do so again. Certainly NEC always feels like home, and I can't seem to get away from there. So to everyone else, thank you so much for joining us this evening for our first edition of Around the World with NEC Prep alumni. We look forward to sharing additional NEC Prep alumni stories with you. And if you're an alumni out there, please comment below or send us a note. Can't wait to hear what you guys are all up to. Until next time, I'm Rebecca Bogers, and this is the Morris Quartet. Good night.